All right, not too much going on this week. Sorry if this is a repeat, but just for my own sanity. Not much going on this week. We got a couple TAs coming in today. Tomorrow, Brian Willard from Google. He was the guy who was sitting with us last week when we were at Google. He's going to do a whiteboarding session, and he's going to be doing it from 1 to 3 p.m. And I have the third floor conference room already reserved for us. If you've ever wanted to get your mind blown in such a way where you're just like, I shouldn't be in this field, please come out tomorrow to that whiteboarding session. But I will need at least 2 people to volunteer to go. But it seems like most people would want to go. If you ever want to see what Google's actual whiteboarding questions are like, you can go to this particular event. I did not get it. There was something where he put up like a triangle, a square, and a hexagon, and then another series of symbols. And then he's like, how are these 2 things related? And I was like, I have no idea. And then that was it. I was like, okay. So that's going to be going on tomorrow. Also tomorrow evening, we're going to have a board meeting. So you're going to see a lot of people just kind of poking their heads in, looking at us like we're kind of zoo animals, but they will be poking their head in. It's all the board members. They'll be here at 5:30 tomorrow. Your assessment number 4 is on Friday, and that particular assessment is just, I think it's single CRUD, if not nested CRUD. I will verify it and let you know, but there's new things that we're going to be adding on today, like authentication and things like that, that won't be on the assessment for Friday. It's okay. On Saturday and Sunday, we're going to have Agile training, and it's a certification called Safe Agile, Scaled Agile Frameworks. I don't know where the E comes from, but it's a Scaled Agile Frameworks 4.0. And that's things that, large companies, very large companies, talking John Deere, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, like they look for these people with these types of credentials because they're such huge, gross companies that have been operating on like a certain wavelength for so long. They're like, we need to modernize and we need practitioners to help us. Everyone who's taken the training and taken the test has passed. Every single person. So you will also pass. And I probably shouldn't say this while I'm recording. If you wait for the instructor to leave, you all can team up. We may or may not have done that when I took this particular course. So, 6 minds are better than 1. But I just want to verify that everyone will be here this weekend.
Yes.
Is there a
It's 8 to 5 on both days. 8 to 5. Yeah. So you are going 7 days straight. Yes. Oh, you just said, oh. Okay. Well, it is paid for. You don't have to pay for anything. It usually costs, $1,000, something like that. But he's just charging us for materials. He's flying in because he just believes in this. So he's flying in. With that, how would you like to tackle the next few days in terms of like, I understand 7 days straight is a long period of time. So this is 7 days straight plus another, so it's 12 days straight of class. I understand that's a long period of time, given that we do have the full next week off. So the entire week of July 4th, we do have off. Okay. I was happy and willing to move some things around if you wanted to start at 9:30 instead of 9 over the next few days. If you wanted to have Friday completely off and I give you the assessment on Thursday, it's up to you how you'd like to tackle that. Think about it. Think about it.
That last option.
Think about it and let me know. How's that? Think about it and let me know. Okay. What's that?
No, it's a class meeting.
Class meeting? Yeah. We'll do that in a little bit. All right. Let me open up a few things. So up to this point, we've learned a little bit about CRUD, how to do create, read, update, and destroy single resource. So it's like if I have a blog post, I'm able to create, read, update, and destroy single blog posts. Then we talked a little bit about nested CRUD. So I have cars and manufacturers. I can create, read, and update manufacturers, and I can create, read, update, and destroy cars that belong to those manufacturers. If I delete a manufacturer, those cars should also be destroyed. Today we're going to be doing probably just single authentication. We're going to be talking about Devise, and we've been doing just like basic CRUD so far. We haven't had much logging in or logging out. Again, everything that I'm going over is directly here, so if you're a person who likes to read, please go over this. So So we're going to start off with this Rails catalog app, and we're just going to be essentially adding more and more things to it. Let's take a look at what we've got, and we'll go from there. First things first, I'm just going to clone things down. And being part of another bootcamp is kind of interesting because it is week 3, and they have literally no idea how to use the command line. They just double-click and drag files into certain things, and don't really know how to use Git or anything like that. Not at any fault of their own. It's just the teachers don't teach that. So I was like, well, at least we're better than they are. All right.
Did you teach them today?
I did teach them today.
How'd that go?
They went as expected. You know, they all got something that. They didn't understand object-oriented programming at all, and I was like, a class, it's class and then a singular noun. That noun has attributes, which are adjectives, and verbs that they can do, which are, they're like, that's it. And I was like, that's all it really is, but they made it really difficult. All right, so first things first, I'm here under my catalog. I've cloned it down, and I'm inside of VS Code. First things first, bundle install. This is going to go inside of my gem file and install everything. So I've installed it. I'm just going to bundle exec Rails DB drop. Drop the database in case there's anything there. Uh-oh, something's broken. This is my own issue. So I even created a small little alias to basically restart Postgres. You don't need to pay attention to that one. So I'm going to drop the database in case it blows up, and in case there's anything there. All right, so you can see I dropped the development and the test database. Create, migrate, and seed. Since you're going to be doing this Rails DB drop, create, and seed, you might want to create aliases for it. I have one called YOLO, which drops, creates, migrates, seeds, and starts the server. And I'm going to do bundle exec Rails server to get this loaded up. If all goes well, I can go to localhost 3000. And I've got my catalog right over here. So this is broken because I'm on the wrong route. Where do I look to see all of the routes that I have in my particular Rails app? No, I'm just saying which file holds all of the routes. Config, and then it looks like there's a route. Yep, it's config. So right now I can go to home index. This is my root too. So whenever anybody makes a request just to slash the home page, it takes me to the home controller, specifically the index action. Let's take a look. Home controller, and there's a def index over here. Is there a view that corresponds with it? And it looks like I'm missing a folder. Actually, let me just redirect. Redirect to, and I'm going to use the manufacturer's path. I could just say /manufacturers, but Rails gives me a nice Rails helper. And I can just do manufacturer's path. Refresh this here. Whenever I make a GET request to this slash, it's going to redirect me to /manufacturers. All right, so I got manufacturers. I have the capability of creating a new manufacturer. So Apple, Steve Jobs. I can view all of them. I can show an individual one. I can update them, Tim Cook. And I can also destroy different manufacturers. As of right now, anyone can come onto my website and any person can create, read, update, and destroy certain things. And obviously that's not the case that everywhere that you go, you have to create a login. Because you have to make sure that you are the person that you say that you are. Now, the main thing that I want to point out for today is generally you don't want to write your own authentication. Similarly, if you ever start an e-commerce business, I know some people are more entrepreneurial in this class. If you ever start your own e-commerce business, never write your own credit card stuff. So there are companies like Stripe and PayPal and Braintree. Their whole job is to do payment processing. There's many, many laws that go into like how do you store credit card information? Where do you store credit card information? How do you get credit card information? How do you pass back credit card information? And all you have to do is mess up one time and then you're completely sunk. So there are entire companies that make it really easy for you. They'll charge you a transaction fee. Like, let them do their job well, and your job is to write this new app. So if you're ever doing e-commerce or anything like that, never take care of payment processing. Like, let Stripe, let PayPal, let like some other person take care of it for you. And similarly, that also applies to authentication. So generally speaking, with authentication, you have to get the person's username and their email address. And you generally want to store it as a hashed password, which means that I don't want to, if my password is password123, if I hack into your database, I don't want to see that john@codeplatoon.org's got a password of password123. I want to see nonsensical text. But you would have to write that yourself, or you can pass it off to somebody else. And again, it's one of those things where it's you do stuff really well. Like you do you, and let the people who do this do their own thing. So Devise is an open source It is an open source bit of, why am I not logged? Okay. It is an open source thing, and it's made by Plataformic Tech. And this is a company, I think in like Brazil or something like that. Yeah, in Sao Paulo, Brazil. These people hire PhDs from MIT and Stanford to write the code, the hashing algorithm, so that you don't have to. Like there's mathematical ways to take a string and put it through some sort of weird algorithm so that it comes out in such a way where it's consistent every time, but it would take an ordinary computer like 1 million years to guess every possible combination to get it. Like there's a lot of code that makes this work really well for you. And our job today is like we're web developers. We're not security people. We're not trying to become security people or mathematicians or anything like that. We just want to take the code that's already written for us and then put it inside of our site. So we have a basic starting point, and that's what we went over here. First things first, we're going to add Devise to our gem file and then bundle install. So I'm going to just close a few things inside my gem file. Anywhere, I'm just going to put gem Devise and then just run bundle install. So let me close this out, bundle install. So again, added my gem Devise, bundle installed it over here. As we're working through like these next few steps, you can kind of see I'm installing this. That's why it's green over here. As we're working through the next few steps, we're not going to be writing like tests to make them fail and then the code to make them pass. By taking in this one gem right over here, I'm trusting that the code will work 100% of the time. It's not the greatest thing, but the alternative is test literally everything. So I'm just trusting that the code that they write is fair. All right, so I've installed it. I'm going to run bundle exec Rails G for generate, Devise install. It's fairly common practice for these libraries, things like Devise, to provide their own generators so that it creates an initial configuration for us. So there's a little bit of magic that happens, but realistically, all they've done is they've created two files. Config initializers Devise, so we'll open that up first, and then config locales devise.english.yaml. There's a few things that they tell us to do manually if we haven't. So let me just open this, alt-click. Devise.rb, I'll open that up, and then this one as well. There's some things we should do manually that just tells us. Inside of the development.rb, make sure that we have this inside of there. All right, so config environments development, config, oh my God, in environments development, make sure that you add this particular line in there, no problem. Easy, just copy and paste, make sure I don't have it somewhere else. All right. Make sure you have defined root URL to something in your config. Let's just take a look at our routes. All right, it takes a look. Take a look. We make sure that we have the same thing, which we do. And then this final thing, ensure that you have flash messages in app views layouts application.html.erb. So I'll take a look under app views layouts application.html.erb. Okay, it looks like I don't have this particular thing in there, so I'll just copy and paste this and put it inside of my body. Let's take a look at the two things that they gave us. So there's two files. They gave us one called Devise right over here, and a devise.english.yaml. The file, all it does is basically it gives you some text ahead of time so that in the case that you get an error message, this is what they're going to show up. So if you don't have a password on your token, you can't access this page without coming from a password reset email. If you do not come from there, you make sure you have the full URL provided. This is just some text that they put ahead of time. But look at all the different things that we can do with Devise with just a real quick setup. We have mailer configurations, ORM configurations. I believe there's one called length or something like password length. Okay, so there's not enough time in the day for me to go through literally every line in here, but there are different configuration options that we can set up. First things first, like we can require for the password to be between 6 characters and 128 characters. If I said I wanted to make it longer, all I got to do is change it from 6 to 8, and now it's required that it's a minimum of 8 different characters. I can basically lock people out if you have a number of failed attempts. So all I got to do is uncomment this and say, like, I will lock you out after a certain number of failed attempts. Maybe it's 3. I can set that as well. And then how long do I have to wait until I can unlock that as well? So we'll go over this in a little bit, but all of this stuff is more or less given to you for free. Time interval to unlock the account if the time enabled is an unlock strategy. So if you are locked out, how long will it take for you to log back in? It's like, hey, you've tried to guess the password too many times in these past 2 minutes, and you're locked out for 15 minutes or something like that. They're taking care of all of that for you here. We'll take a closer look at this in just a second. Let me put this 6 back here. So again, we've done pretty much just 2 things so far. I did talk a lot, but we've essentially done 2 things so far. One, put Devise inside the gem file and bundle installed it, and then we followed all of these instructions over here. So next, we need to tell Devise which model we'd like to authenticate for us. In our case, and in most cases, that model is generally seen as user. So you have like every single app has a user table. It stores your first name, last name, your password, and your email address. So I'm just going to run a quick command, bundle exec, Rails G for generate, Devise user. Now, under my migrate so far, I have users. That was my first thing that I created. Then I have manufacturers, and I have products. Finally, this was just created. You can kind of see over here, there is a different timestamp, 2018-06-19. That's us right here, 2018. And then it just generated two different things for us. So it generated this entire file, inserted a line into app models user. So let's take a look at that. It looked like it added all of these lines that were not there before. And then there was an extra route that they added, which says Devise for users. So if I jump into routes, Devise for users, like this wasn't here before. So when I add the Devise gem to the user class, all of these 3 things are generated for me. When we take a look over here, this particular user, they're saying every single user has to have an email, an encrypted password, password reset token, that all of these things are given to us if we choose to do it. All right, let's, if you take a look at the routes real quick, this one little line seems pretty like safe because it was just one line. But if I run bundle exec Rails routes, and then I grep all of that for users, this pipe basically says, I'm going to run this particular command based off of that output. Then I'm going to run everything after here, which is grep for users. Grep stands for search. Like instead of seeing everything with manufacturers and products, I just want to see everything related to users. All of these brand new routes were just created as a result of this one tiny little line. So I have a sign in, a sign out, I have a new password, I can edit the password, I can get a new user registration for signing up and things of that nature. All of this is given to us from this tiny little line right here. These are all the routes that are given to us. Same thing over here, all of these controllers we don't control. It's given to us for free by Devise. Let's try bundle exec. Since I created a new migration, bundle exec Rails DB migrate. Oh, something blows up. Let's take a look. So it blows up, looks like duplicate column. It says email of relation users already exists. So when I'm going to jump into my migrate here, I take a look here. It says that email already exists because I created this first, and then over here it says I want to add email to a table that already has email on it. Not a big deal. Comment this out. Run bundle exec Rails DB migrate one more time. All right, everything looks good. Fire up the server, and everything looks exactly the same. So before we can really make use of all of this like Devise stuff, we're going to make a few adjustments to our code base. And since Devise is handling all of the authentication, there's some things I want to add and some things I want to remove. Let me clear out a bunch of these windows to give myself more breathing room. So if I go to views and I go to application layout, I don't have anything to basically say like, is this person logged in? If they're logged in, show the login. If not, take out the login. So I'm going to grab this particular bit of code and just paste it in here. So inside the body, this is going to load first before it yields over to anything else. Remember, application is the thing that shows up on every page. So like if you were to go to Amazon, it has the same header and it has the same footer on every single page. Instead of copying it over and over again, they just put it inside this application layout. I'm going to create a quick nav bar, and it says if current user is a free method given to us by Devise, basically saying if there's somebody logged in, I'm going to say hello, whatever your name is, and then give you a link to logout, which is going to go to this destroy user sessions path, which is one of these random ones over here. Otherwise, I'm going to say register and login. Refresh. I'm not logged in right now, so all I have to do is, since I'm not logged in, I have two links, register or login. Again, register and login. There is no current user as of right now. All right, so if I hit register, boom, it gives me something that's pretty nice. So I have email, password, and password confirmation. Like I didn't actually create any of this myself. This was all given to me for free by Devise. I'm just going to do john@codeplatoon.org. Have a password of 123123, 123123, sign up. And a few things blow up. So it says that the null value in column name violates the not null constraint detail. I don't know what that means, but let's jump into our DB migrate over here. It appears that I have an email. In order to create a user, you need an email and a name and a password digest. So it has the first one and it has the last one, but it doesn't have the option to do this name thing. Jumping back over here, I don't even have the option to put everything in. So I want to customize this a little bit, but since Devise is taking care of it for me, like I have to tell them I'm going to manually take care of this rather than you taking care of this, because you don't have email, name, and password. You just have email and password. So I'm going to run something real quick. Rails G with a bundle exec in the front. Devise views -v registrations. Under the hood, Devise was taking care of all of these different views, but since I need to modify the things that go around registrations, I'm basically saying, hey, generate the views, and I'm going to be the one who's going to be modifying them from now on. Go under apps, go under, I forgot, no -v. -v is a dry run. So under the registrations over here, there is a whole bunch of crap that just came up for me. I'm looking specifically for the new and the edit. So registrations, new and edit, there you go. Under this new over here, I only have an email and a password. That's all I've got. So I want to update it to also include something for the name. I'm going to add one more field in. I'll call this name. I'll call this f.email field. I think it's just f.text. Name. Or just do this. Copy paste from the cookie. When I go back to this page and I refresh, I should probably turn on my server. And nothing shows up. Am I crazy? Did I do this incorrectly? Oops. Oh crap. I don't have this anymore. Get rid of this. Sorry. There it is. Where's the wrong folder? Okay, now when I refresh, now I have email, name, and then password. So I'm going to sign up again. John at cp.com. It doesn't matter. Name is John. 123123 123123. Sign up. And at this point, when I sign up and finish up, something blows up again, and it says, even though, basically what happens is, even though this shows up over here, the thing that's being passed over to the controller in order to create a new user doesn't also account for name. So not only do we have to control the view, we also need to control the registration controller. So I'm going to create a new file under app controllers, create a new file called registrations controller.rb. Inside of here, I'm just going to copy all of this code from our curriculum. We'll just read a little bit. So we have a class called registrations controller. It inherits from Devise's registrations controller, but we're going to override it. So usually it doesn't require a name, but we said that we require you to have a name. In order to sign up or in order to update anything, I require a name, email, and password. Same thing over here. Load this up. One last thing, routes.rb. I'm going to tell Devise to not use the controller that's built in for registrations. But I'm going to be the one controlling it. So controllers, registrations, it's going to go to registrations. So we'll try one last time. At this point, it'll work. cp.com, name is John, 123, 123, 123, 123, sign up. It says, all right, so we got to this point where we're able to log in. It saves our user inside the database, and then we also have the ability to log out. It's some of the things that they give to us for free. Now, if I were to kill the server and run bundle exec rails c to enter the console, which is an IRB thing that hooks into our database, I want to take a look at the user that I just created. So user.last loads up. This is very angry with me. Maybe we'll just take care of that later. All right, so let's do a few final tweaks to our basic login. First, when you register a new person, 6 characters is probably fairly, like most of them say like you have to have 8 to 10 characters right now, right? Because 6 characters is a short thing. So we're going to go back to that config. Where did that go? I think it's just called devise.art. There it is. I'm going to change this password length from 6 to 8. And all I've got to do is just change that one number, refresh this page. Since I've made some changes in config, I can restart the server. Refresh this page. It used to say 6, now it says 8. And if I just try to do a Josh at cp.com, Josh, and do 123, 123, 123, 123, sign up again, it says, it gives us all of these error message for free. One error is preventing us from saving this. The password's too short. The minimum is going to be 8 characters. Also, so you can kind of see this is fairly simple. Let's also do this thing where if a user fails to properly log in 5 times in a row, we'll lock their account for 30 minutes. So first things first, I'm going to jump over to my user. And inside of here, I'm going to enable this inside of my, I'm going to enable a few other things inside of this device. So we're just going to add one more thing, lockable. At the bottom of our initializer, devise.rb, I'm going to add a lock strategy. Lock strategy. Just going to add this bit of code in here. So I'm going to lock it based off of the number of failed attempts, and I'm going to unlock you based off of time. If you fail to log in correctly 5 times, I'm going to lock you out using these failed attempts, and then unlock you in 15 minutes. Let's just do 2 minutes, 1 minute, for the sake of demonstration. Okay. Since I made a change inside of config, I need to restart the server. All right, I'm going to try to lock myself out. So I'm going to try to log in. John@cp.com, 321321. Blows up, says undefined local variable or method lockdown. Something about a missing attribute. So if we jump back over here and go to DB right over here, there is a bunch of stuff that I did not, that I didn't uncomment when I first migrated this over. I'm going to create a new migration of bundle exec Rails G migration, add lockable to user. All right, so I created a brand new migration. Just going to add change table. Add this in here. So I need all of this to live on the actual user itself. Load up the server. Try logging myself back in one more time. I've created that. Migrate.
DS is just your own shorthand for server.
Yep, it's my shorthand for server. All right, so I'm going to just go to localhost and try to log in a bunch of times incorrectly. So john@cp.com, copy this, 111, That's 1 time, 2 times, 3, 4, and you have 1 more attempt before your account's locked. They gave that to me for free. And 5. Now my account's locked. So I can try to log in as much as I want, even if I put in the right password, 123123. It says your account's still locked. But if we wait 1 minute, then it will actually unlock for me. And while we're waiting for that, we can take a quick look at all the other things that we're able to do. So looks like there's some configuration that you can have for recovering. Like, so if you forgot your password, I'm not terribly familiar with this, but there's an ability for them to automatically send you an email with a specific link, and that link will have a token. As long as they can click on that particular link, then you have the ability to basically reset your password. You can encrypt them. There's no shortage of things that are going on here that you have the ability to do. I'm going to try to log back in. I'm going to refresh here. John@cp, 123123. Hopefully it's been over a minute, and then I can log in once more. So you can lock them out for a certain amount of time if you can have a certain number of tries before things blow up. So that's a little bit about Devise. Essentially, you're going to use Devise to log people in and log people out. You're going to use Devise to try to get them to sign up, and and you will never need to worry about the storage of all the passwords. In order for things to happen from now on, I would recommend, if they're not logged in, take them to a login page. That's generally how most sites are operating. If there's some sort of sensitive data behind something, you want to make sure that the people who are coming into your website are actually supposed to be at your website. I'm going to pause for questions.
So this may be a one-off, but with this since this is like such sophisticated like authentication, could you also use this in conjunction with, you know, how like they have logins like Google, and like Facebook? You can like essentially use that together with this, right?
No, those are two separate things. So the question was like, I have the ability to log in using Google or Twitter or Facebook or something like that. That's a totally separate version of authentication. This one is if you want to manage your own logging in and logging out, which is fine. It might be more convenient to do what's called OAuth. So that's OmniAuth, short for OAuth. It's basically, I have one login for Google, and since we all trust Google or trust Facebook, whether that be correct or incorrect, we can say that when I log in with Facebook or log in with Google, they're taking care of all the authentication, and I can trust that once they log in with Google, they are who they say they are. There is also a gem for that inside of Rails, which makes things pretty simple. Ruby gem, Ruby OAuth. It's right here. So it's like gem install Google Auth, and then I'm not sure personally how to use it, but it looks like you can just copy and paste this here. And then you can, this is another way of doing authentication as well. That's legitimate. That's a legitimate alternative to Devise.
Just on the basis of this, like you were doing, like stuff was like blowing up a lot, and
It's because I was not really reading the instructions and I was doing it on my own. Your choice. Do you want me to go over? Do you want me to make a CRUD app or a nested CRUD app with authentication?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Let me stop recording here.